Live from KIMT News 3, we've got you covered. This is KIMT News 3, first at 4.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for KIMT News 3 first at 4 on your Friday for this very special live edition of our show from Mason City. I'm Jessica Bringy. We start today with our big story. 30 years ago, KIMT News 3's morning anchor, Jody Huizentrout, didn't make it to work. But 3 decades later, this June 27th, there are still no clear answers about what happened to the then 27-year-old who is a familiar face in Mason City. KIMT News 3's Evan Berg is joining us live in front of our Mason City studio right here, Evan, where the Find Jody team held a memorial as they do every year earlier today. What did they tell you?
Well, Jess, a lot of Jody's colleagues and friends from 30 years ago came out to attend this year's anniversary. A lot of them say it's a sad story when the anchor who reads the news ends up becoming the story. As you'll be able to see from this footage here, the memorial this year was pretty well attended with some of Jody's old colleagues. A lot of KIMT alums came out to share stories about her disappearance and their hope for a resolution. Friends shared stories of Huizentrout's natural confidence and passion for the news. 30 years ago today, she didn't show up for her morning shift. 30 years ago today, one of our own went missing on her way into work. I'm KIMT News 3's Evan Berg with how the community still remembers Jody Huizentrout.
And I am here at Soldiers Field Golf Course, hole number 2, where the $1 Million Shootout, a part of Rochester Fest, is about to get underway. I also have a look at your full forecast if you want to come out and enjoy the festivities.
Live from KIMT News 3, we've got you covered. This is KIMT News 3 at 5.
Thank you for watching KIMT News 3 on your Friday night. We have a special edition live from Mason City. I'm Jessica Bringy. Looks like we're having a little camera trouble there. On this day, 30 years ago, KIMT News 3 morning anchor Jody Huizentrout didn't make it to work. 3 decades later, June 27, 2025, there are still no clear answers as to what happened to the then 27-year-old who made informing Mason City viewers her life's work. KIMT News 3's Evan Berg. Huizentrout's last known location, where her old apartment complex here, Evan, in Mason City. How is the community really remembering Jody today?
Well, Jess, the community came out today, including Jody's old co-workers from KIMT back in the 90s, as well as some of her friends here in Mason City, to remember her and hopefully encourage people to come forward if they have any tips that could cause a break in the case. According to the Mason City Police Department, here at the Key apartment complex is where she was last seen, where she was suspected of being kidnapped on her way to work, just 5 minutes away from our our Mason City office, sorry. Many of Jody's loved ones came to speak about the first few days of her disappearance, the uncertainty, the attention from other news outlets, and their hope that they'd find what happened by July of 1995.
Live from KIMT News 3, we've got you covered. This is KIMT News 3 at 6.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us for KIMT News 3 at 6 o'clock, a special edition of KIMT News 3. I'm Cami Raisler. Today marks 30 years since KIMT News 3 lost one of our own. Jody Huizentroot has been missing since 1995. She worked here at this station. That's why we're bringing you the news tonight from Mason City. Now, it has been 30 years since anyone last saw Jody Huizentroot. On the morning of June 27, 1995, the 27-year-old failed to show up for work. She had called in to a colleague around 4 a.m. saying she had overslept but was on her way in. That colleague actually had called her, but she did speak with Jody. That would be the last time anyone had heard from her. Amy Kimt was the producer that day who she spoke with on the phone for the very last time. And she was here. Amy was here earlier today. There was a ceremony, a nice brief ceremony outside the studio here in Mason City. And we do have team coverage here tonight. Our Jessica Bringy is with us, reporting more on this story and this investigation. It's ongoing. And our Evan Berg has been in Mason City all day with us covering this story. We'll start tonight with Jessica, who just anchored the 4 and 5 o'clock. This is a story, Jess, that we've been following at KIMT News 3 for a really long time. What can you tell us more about this investigation here today?
Well, starting, Cami, with what you mentioned, it was Amy Kimt, that producer, who first sounded the alarm, noticed, of course, Jody wasn't in for work, into this newsroom, this Mason City newsroom right here. And then when she failed to actually physically show up for her morning shift, very unlike Jody, according to Kimt, that's when a welfare check took place. And Kimt realized she may have been the last person to speak with Jody ever. Now, if we take a look back at the investigation, that started in 1995. And just to give you a little overview of how it all started.